You know, some roads are just roads. They're just asphalt and paint, nothing more than a way to get from here to there. But then, there are other roads, the ones that feel heavy, the ones that have stories. Growing up in North Carolina, I'd heard the whispers about Lydia's Bridge in Jamestown my whole life. It was one of those local legends you tell to spook your friends, the classic ghost story about a phantom hitchhiker. I never believed it, not really. It was just a story until one night I saw her. It was late, rain was pouring down, and a girl in a white dress was standing on the side of the road. And I did the one thing they always say you shouldn't do. I stopped. The engine was a low hum, and the wipers just smeared the rain across the glass. I remember thinking, who in their right mind is out in this weather? She was just standing there, completely soaked, a pale shape in the stormy dark. No coat, no umbrella, just a white dress that seemed to almost glow in my headlights. Every rational part of my brain was screaming at me to hit the gas, lock the doors, drive away. Don't look back, but she looked so lost, so I pulled over, and the second my car stopped, the world went quiet. The storm faded to a dull roar, and this feeling washed over me. It was a cold, creeping dread that had nothing to do with the rain, the kind of cold that starts in your bones. I rolled down the window and everything changed. "Need a ride?" I yelled, trying to sound louder than the wind. She just nodded, her face hidden by a curtain of wet hair. Without a word, she opened the back door and slid inside. I'll never forget the sound of that door closing, a dull thud that felt way too final. The air in the car got heavy, damp, and there was a faint, sweet smell like flowers after a downpour. "Where to?" I asked, trying my best to sound casual, trying to ignore the frantic drumbeat in my chest. Her voice was barely a whisper. She gave me an address just a couple miles down the road. It was a simple request, but her silence was deafening. I risked a glance in the rearview mirror. She was just sitting, staring out the window, water pooling on my floor mat from the hem of her dress. I tried to make small talk as to where she was coming from, what she was doing out so late. She only gave one-word answers, her voice sounding like a distant, sad echo. She told me her name was Lydia. The drive couldn't have been more than 10 minutes, but it felt like hours. The quiet in the car was thick with unspoken sorrow. I've never felt anything like it. It was heavier than just an awkward silence. It was deep, profound sense of loss, so thick I felt like I was drowning in it. I kept my eyes glued to the road, the back and forth of the wipers being the only thing keeping me grounded. I didn't dare look in the mirror again. When the GPS said we arrived, I pulled over. "Here we are," I said, turning around in my seat. She was gone. The back seat was empty. I just stared, my brain refusing to catch up with what just happened. But the seat was damp. That was the only proof she was ever there at all. For a solid minute, I just sat there, my heart pounding against my ribs. Did I imagine the whole thing? Was I just tired? But the wet seat was real. The smell of rain and the flowers were real. And the chilling silence that left behind when she was gone was definitely real. My first instinct was to just peel out of there, go home, lock the doors, and pretend it never happened. But I couldn't. I had to know. So I got out of the car, the rain still coming down, and walked up to the house she pointed me to. It was an old place, the kind with a big porch swing and a history practically peeling off of the siding. I knocked on the door, my knuckles feeling weirdly numb. An older woman answered. Her face was kind, gentle, a strange contrast to the bizarre nightmare I was living. "Can I help you?" she asked. I stumbled over my words, trying to explain something totally impossible. I just gave a girl a ride," I stated. "A young woman named Lydia. She said this was her house. I just wanted to make sure she got inside okay." The woman's expression didn't shift to confusion. It softened into pain, familiar sadness. "You're not the first one," she said quietly. She told me her daughter, Lydia, was killed in a car wreck on that road, right near the bridge decades ago. And every so often, on a rainy night, someone shows up at her door telling the exact same story. They all tried to bring Lydia home. Standing there on that porch, soaked to the bone, it felt like the world just tilted. The ghost story I'd heard hundreds of times wasn't just a story, it was real. And I had just lived through it. The legend of Lydia's Bridge is a cornerstone of North Carolina folklore, a classic vanishing hitchhiker tale passed down for generations. This story are all eerily similar: a young woman in white, a tragic accident, and a ghost forever trying to get home. While the story of the driver named Burke Hardison picking up a girl in 1924 is a popular part of the legend, its historical accuracy is unconfirmed. That night sent me down a rabbit hole. I started digging into the history of the bridge, the legend, everything. The more I learned, the more twisted the story got. It isn't just some simple ghost story. It's a piece of American folklore that says so much about our fears and loss and the unknown. Have you ever heard of a local legend that felt a little too real? Let me know in the comments. And if you find this stuff as fascinating as I do, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications so you don't miss what I find next. My obsession took over. I had to separate the folklore from the facts. Was there ever a real Lydia? Well, for decades, researchers and local historians have scored records for a young woman named Lydia who died in a car crash near the Jamestown Bridge. They always come up empty: no death certificate, no accident report, nothing. But that doesn't mean the story appeared out of thin air. Researchers now believe the legend was born of a real tragedy. On June 20th, 1920, a 30-year-old woman named Annie L. Jackson was killed in a car accident on the same stretch of road. The car overturned on the wet pavement and she was thrown from the vehicle, dying almost instantly. The parallels are chilling, and shortly after her death, the first ghost sighting began. Ghost hunter Michael Reniger and his research partner Amy Greer were the ones who uncovered the old newspaper article about Annie Jackson's death after years of investigating the legend. It seems likely that over time Annie's tragic story merged with the vanishing hitchhiker archetype, a type of old folk tale that exists in cultures all over the world, long before cars were even invented. The name Lydia might have come from another local tale, or just been woven into the story as it was told and retold. In a fascinating twist, Annie Jackson's own great niece, Robin Mitchell Taylor, only learned about her great-aunt's death through genealogy research. She believes it's possible that her great-aunt's spirit used the legend of Lydia to finally make her own story known. The bridge itself, officially the Jamestown Underpass, has become a monument to the legend. It's covered in graffiti and a kind of shrine to the girl in the white dress. It's a place where folklore and reality bleed into one another. So even if Lydia is a blend of the fact and fiction, the feeling tied to the story, the tragedy of the life cut short, the ache to find your way home are undeniably real. So what did I see that night? Did I give a ride to the ghost of Annie Jackson, forever reliving the last moments of her life? Or was it something else entirely? A story so powerful it's taken on a life of its own. I don't have the answers. All I have is what I experienced. The girl in my car felt real. The damp seat was real. And that profound, heartbreaking sadness was very, very real. The legend of Lydia's Bridge isn't about just the ghosts. It's about how we deal with the tragedy, how we keep memories alive through stories, and how some tales are so powerful they blur the line between this world and whatever comes next. I take a different route home now, not because I'm scared, but more out of respect. Some roads carry more than just cars, they carry the weight of stories. And the story of the girl in the white dress is one I'll carry with me forever. I went looking for a ghost story, and what I found was a tragedy. The story of a woman who just wanted to go home, and maybe in a way, by telling her story, we're all helping her finally get there.